Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another Tooele Happy Hour podcast starring Holly, Jared, and David. Tonight, we're just going to run through some news and clean up some loose ends, talk about some good stuff.
Yeah, stuff burning on our minds.
But if insanity had a podcast, if crazy was a show, if retarded was real, bingo. Here we would be. The Tooele Happy Hour podcast. Here we go.
All right.
Time for the mission.
So, we got 3 news stories we want to chat about.
I would like to talk about the last show for a second.
Okay.
About the candidate.
About Rod?
Rod. I thought that he was a very nice guy. He had a lot of good things to say. And I appreciate you guys having him on. I think that's great. We've only got, I think, 1 or 2 more left to file to be on the show.
So, for the Republican side.
For the Republican
we
side.
We are going to have on anybody who's running. We don't care if you're from a weirdo party or whatever. We want to have you on. Still, I have to say, Joe is my favorite show we've ever done.
That's cool. Well, and I just want to thank you for what you do, because the one thing we need, and we've talked about this before, is an educated populace. And the more they know, the more informed they are to go vote. I think the more confident they feel.
Why does that sound like a threat to me? Like you're going to throw me out of the country?
I don't know what you're talking about. But don't you think if you hear from everybody,
I agree.
You don't know who you're going to vote for. But I think a true independent is somebody that will wait and learn, and you're offering a service to get to know these guys and ladies in a very casual and yet, dark, deep questions way. And I appreciate it. I do. So, and I appreciate the fact that you let me come on the show again and again.
Oh, we love having you, Holly. You're the spice in the.
You're trapped.
I'm the sugar.
You're trapped.
In the spice.
Here you are. You can't get away now. This is your seat.
But anyways, no, Rod's good. No, it's good. I enjoy it. I enjoy talking with these guys. I enjoy in-depth conversation, and I love when you can pose an idea to them to make it so that maybe, just maybe, God willing, they get back there and run with your idea a little bit.
And they think about it. You know what else I really appreciate, and I'm not saying that I don't absolutely appreciate the Zoom meetings, because I do. I know people are busy, we're far away, and everything else, but I really appreciate when they come out to the studio. I think there's something, especially, it's night, we're 300 miles out and only 30 miles back, but there's something to me as a voter that means a lot, that they come in here, talk to your face, and come out to our county. Roosevelt. And then he has to stay in the town, and he's giving back to Tooele by buying our gas and using our hotels.
Yeah,
and
he's staying in our hotels. So
I think that's cool.
He's committed. It shows commitment.
It's a stand-up move. It's a stand-up guy.
So I think all the candidates that are considered running, I think it's free advice here is to be present into the communities that you want their vote. Try to be as present as possible. You can't spread yourself out too thin, especially, but you've got a year ahead, and it means a lot to voters to see your face or to know you're in their city or their county and you're there to listen to them. So
yes,
I think that's cool, and I got to give him props for that. I know Carolyn came and was here in person, as was Trent Staggs, and so I think we've got a great pool. And in my party, I'm really excited about the candidates coming out. So I hope that we'll get to meet some of these others.
Yes. So, on to fun stuff and funny stuff and sad stuff. Holly, what'd you bring us? What are we talking about?
Well, this isn't new.
What news station you pulling it?
It's called Defense News. It's Federal Times. They're just discussing the Pentagon and the Pentagon fails 6th audit with numbers of passing grades stagnant. And it's the 6th year in a row the Pentagon has failed its annual audit. So we're talking about the Department of Defense, and we'll talk about money here. The Department of Defense assets are vast and decentralized, amounting to $3.8 trillion, alongside $4 trillion in liabilities. And they're located in 50 states and more than 4,500 sites around the world. The Pentagon's been auditing itself since 2018. The last department to do so after Congress required the practice across the government in 1990. And it solves some of its easiest accounting problems. Now, change each year, and the change is more incremental. Now, to me, this is important because, first of all, I don't know why the Pentagon would be auditing itself. That feels like I think you have a separate auditor.
It's kind of like printing your own money.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Does the Treasury audit themselves?
Oh, easy on that.
Well, look at it.
There have been politicians shot from book depositories for less than
This
that.
said Pentagon began auditing itself in 2018, the last department to do so after Congress passed this.
It's not uncommon for the military and for government agencies to do internal audits all the time.
Well, they
actually.
should.
Yeah.
But who's auditing them on the outside?
Right.
And the House is voting to give them money for Israel, for Ukraine, for Palestine, and so they've asked for this big cash, and they've asked for Ukraine's asked for military equipment. You know, it brings me back to who's auditing the expenses going out to Ukraine just in itself. I mean, Ukraine's now over 300 plus billion taxpayer funded donations, our military assets. And so is there a list somewhere
You're
that
a concerned
explains?
citizen, is what you're saying.
I'm absolutely concerned because
Right.
I can think of so many situations in this country, in this border, in these walls. I would say within the walls of our country, but that wouldn't be accurate. But a wall in itself. All these people, all these things that are needed here in our nation, and potentially our military. I mean, we're looking at a lot of different confrontations from a lot of different sources right now. I don't want to say World War III to be, fearmonger, but I mean, China and Iran and Russia. So all of this could be closing in. What exactly does our military have in assets? Not that would necessarily be public, but I want my senators to know. I want my House to know, the representatives. So are we spreading ourselves too thin? And financially, we're giving them money we don't even have. Like, we don't even have it.
Well, that is for sure. We don't have our money.
We don't have it, but we're giving it not just to Ukraine, we're giving it to countries across the world. And yet, a portion of that could be used to secure our border, to secure our homeland security. And it's a political thing now. Now it's about politics if you want to secure the border and protect Americans.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at it from a citizen's point of view, and you're wanting things from a citizen's point of view. But you got to remember, there's people in the government that run the farm, and the chickens want one thing, the farmers want another.
The bureaucrats in the government.
Well, the lizard men, whatever you want to call them.
Well, I mean, there's electeds, and then there's bureaucrats.
Right.
And the Pentagon is bureaucrats. And then their boss is appointed, right, by the president. And the president is where the buck's supposed to stop, or the House of Representatives. So all these electeds are accountable to me and you by how they get voted for. But these bureaucrats are accountable to no one. They can sit in Congress and they can talk to senators like they're trash. Like, I don't have to report to you, and yet you're supposed to report to me. You're supposed to report to the American people. Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like, all right, so in the military, you have the full-time government employees, and the commander comes in every 2 years, and they're like, oh, man, these policies suck. We can just wait 2 more years, and then we can just eject those policies
Absolutely.
right from the books and implement them right into the new commander's schedule. Something
Absolutely.
like that. Yeah.
And that's what's happening in every federal agency, because it's a revolving door of who's accountable, but those people stay the same all the time.
I would argue-
and that's just how it's done. And so that's how you get problems like we had during COVID with the FCC. No,
FDA?
FDA.
Yeah. I would argue it's not like that, as we saw in the last election, that someone gets in and then the bureaucracies work towards getting them out.
Well, yeah, but they're
Instead
doing
of
it their
a
way.
commander on an army base getting in, and you just suffer through him until he gets moved to duty station, gains rank, gets a full bird, whatever. No, the FBI, the bureaucracy of the FBI, maybe not every agent, worked towards getting Donald Trump out. The DOJ worked towards it. Now, in my belief, not everything that Trump did during that action after he was not elected was correct, but there was 4 years that the FBI worked against him. There
Well,
was
it's
4
not
years
just
that-
it's not just Trump. It's anyone not like-minded.
Oh yeah, challenge the system, and the system will bite you, and that's why we need to do away with the system.
We have phenomenal FBI agents who have done
I'm sure we
amazing
do.
things, but they get
And
easily
none of them-
escorted out if they
None of them sit
hold
on the
their
top
oath.
floor. None of them sit on the
Absolutely.
top floor.
Absolutely.
Same with, I'm sure there might be an ATF agent out there that I could probably suffer through drinking a shot with, but none of them sit on the top floor either. Anyways, they are spending money. They're spending it like crazy. It's gone insane.
A lot of that money goes to secret budgets that we're probably not supposed to know about or audit.
I told you, Green Berets spent all of that.
Yeah, just dropping off like
Telling you
suitcases
right now.
of money here and there
Yeah,
to bribe the
Pallets.
local warlord.
pallets of
Pallets.
money. Pallets
Yeah,
of money.
It happens. Luckily, we can just print more to replace it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Dave, you've got a super fun story for us. Kind of a civil rights violating story.
Well, I don't know if it's civil rights violating quite yet, but they're definitely testing the waters with this one. So, all right, I want you to think back towards the time when the Boston Marathon was occurring. Someone let off a pressure pot bomb, and they locked down the city to look for these guys. And eventually, they found one or two of them in a boat.
Watertown.
Yeah.
Watertown, Massachusetts, I believe was the name of that place, where they had, like you watch the videos of it, they had tactical vehicles surrounded by, up armored vehicles surrounded by SWAT teams, moving door to door, keeping people in their houses, and then forcibly searching, no warrant, that's the big thing you got to think about. The Fourth Amendment was thrown away that day.
But we were very willing to go along with
We
it because,
weren't.
well, we weren't there.
Massachusetts was, because Massachusetts they couldn't be any deeper in the blue.
Well, these guys wanted
they
to
were
find
afraid.
and apprehend these people.
Sure.
And you know what? I guess maybe I could even conceive of that being a worthy reason to stay home by police force. Okay. Now, fast forward to a shooter that shot up a bowling alley and a bar, and he was well trained by the United States military. He is an unstoppable force of destruction. Everyone's locked in their houses and they are afraid. Go get this guy. Let's save society. Everyone stay home. And it works really well. The society is locked in their house and they're compliant. So
Was there a
fast forward-
timeline, like for 2 hours, or
It was for a couple of days, if I remember right.
Really?
The guy killed himself.
For the shooter in Maine?
Yeah, the shooter in Maine, that's
Army.
it. Yeah.
So it's indefinitely until
Army
we catch
Staff
him.
Sergeant.
It was, yeah. They wanted that guy, and everyone wanted him to get caught.
That's
and
a lot
everyone
worse than just
stayed
locking
home.
down a school. I mean,
That guy has made some of the best this year conspiracy theories, that guy.
Well, he had great VA care, I guess.
Well, they gave him some hearing aids, and right after they did that, he started hearing voices because he had suffered hearing loss somewhere along the line. So they gave him hearing aids, and right after they did that, he started hearing voices, or so they report. He may have just started hearing. But yeah, and then they call him a weapons instructor. He's an E6 in the National Guard. They're all weapons instructors because they run the ranges. They have to. But
So yeah, okay, it went well. I mean, we got everyone to stay compliant and in their house and locked down.
Mm-hmm.
Let's fast forward to November 10. We are going to serve a warrant and arrest a guy who was at a political rally on a certain day. We'll call it January 6th. And
January 6th.
the day democracy almost died.
This guy, what's his name here? Oh, here's his handsome face right
Are
here.
you sharing your screen?
Yes.
Well, I was just showing him what it looks like.
Yateman.
Gregory Yateman, yeah, he was at the political rally and they wanted to serve him, and he dodged the FBI or whoever it was serving him, and he went into the woods and got away. So, okay, extremely not dangerous because they've interviewed the guy. They've already said, he's not a problem.
They cleared him.
They cleared him.
They cleared him at first.
Well, and he wasn't known to be armed and dangerous and hasn't just committed a felony or killed people.
He
This
was
is
in the
from
military.
3 years ago.
He was in the military, so that automatically makes him a terrorist.
Yeah.
But
They
did clear him.
Not
Previously.
just that. I mean, that's awful blonde
but they're
hair.
going after to get him. They're going to get him, and they're. He hasn't just done something recent. It's just
Right.
we're going to get him today. It's been 3 years, but we're going to get him now.
Yeah, after 3 years. So anyway, he walks out into the woods and just like totally dodges the warrant or the service of his arrest. Now, I don't know about you guys, but if you're not a real danger to society and you're not like actively shooting and killing and bombing people, you'd think the police would react a little differently than they did. But this is what happened. They put this entire city in Jersey on the crockpot bomber lockdown system.
Did they go house to house?
I believe
Like
they did
in
Yeah.
Watertown.
I believe they
Watertown
did.
went house
That's
to house.
absolutely incredibly
Just
terrible.
systematically searching houses. That just breaks the Fourth Amendment rule. You know, you're supposed to be secure in your house.
And I remember when a little girl was kidnapped in Sugar House or something, and they did a lockdown in this neighborhood because it was so quick. And sadly, the guy they went in and checked, they didn't find her, but she was in a barrel and was already deceased. And this was only 30 minutes, 20 minutes. For something like that, when you have a heat of the moment situation, I think the public is, and the public is in an effort to help, come in and look, but they should always have a choice.
Yeah, I don't.
I mean, if you got a bomber out there and you assume they're terrorists and you assume there's more of them and you know one of them's been injured, one of them's already shot a police officer, and I mean the guy who actually called them in and said, "I think he's in my boat."
Yeah. Well, they had been in a gunfight. His brother got.
That's how they found him. It wasn't going house to house.
Yeah, and that's. I would rather them say, "Hey, look, we got a dangerous person on the loose. We don't need vigilantes out there.
See something,
so
say something.
Stay home." But here's our hotline. It's separate from the 911 system. You can call in and do a quick report of where things are. Yes, the police are going to get prank calls, just like when what was it, New York did that call-in line for whatever.
To tell on your neighbor if they weren't being compliant with COVID regulations.
A whole bunch of pictures of phalluses. But anyways, I can see that. But advising people to stay in their home, but locking them in their home, that's a violation.
I agree.
That's illegal detainment. And then going door to door. That is so corrupt.
That's
I mean,
assuming you're a criminal.
even if you're not, but let's say you
No,
are.
I mean, you're a criminal without any reasonable doubt.
Yes.
Just because you would be
He was a
hiding
criminal.
this
He
person.
was a
Not
criminal.
him, but the homeowner.
The homeowner.
You're basically accusing me of hiding
What
this
if-
man from
what
you
if, as
by
the homeowner,
not giving me the choice to say, he's not here.
you're doing something that that is illegal. Next thing you know, they pop in your house, they see that. The next day, they're down at the judge's office saying, "Hey, look what I saw! I even got it on body
Or
cam."
they just see a wall of guns in your hunting wall
Yeah.
that you may or may not have registered.
Yeah.
Well, the point is, we're starting to socially engineer our society to accept these lockdowns
Yep.
for now to acquire political prisoners for the Democratic Party.
Here's
And that's the scary thing is this dude was at a political rally. They've interviewed him. They've brought him into the office many times. They've cleared him. And
from
now
what I
they want him
understand, he
again.
didn't even go inside that day.
He didn't. And they made him out to be worse than the crockpot bombers and the Boston Marathon or, you know, I mean, I think they were trying to label him like the guy in Maine.
I think
but
they-
he didn't do anything.
Yeah.
Did they catch him?
Yes, he turned himself in the next day.
Yeah, I'm glad they didn't bust through his door at 6 a.m. and shoot him,
Yeah.
because that's where we are right
The
now.
FBI's done that a time or two in
So-
the last
So
seven
maybe
years.
that's why he wanted to wander off into the woods in the first place. Is 'cause
Yeah.
it's just safer to do it that way.
It
And
is.
It's
I
safer
kinda
to turn
understand
yourself in, yeah.
it. Yeah.
But I wish that the FBI or whoever was chasing this guy made the same effort to go after, I don't know, the people that were trying to push down the walls or the wall at the White House for free Palestine. And they also paraded and protested and tried to stop a government meeting
and injured police
in the Capitol.
and stopped.
Why aren't they looking for them? Why is there not this big manhunt for all these pro-Palestine
Well, you don't
folks?
go after the militants of your political party until your political
It
party
is that simple.
has become the authoritarian tyranny that you want.
Yeah, you
but
gotta keep your brown
eventually
shirts
they
around.
will go after them. But they still need those soldiers.
It's, to me, the hypocrisy is just so everyday Americans just see it and they're just like, well, you know, they're lying, or yeah, well, it's okay for one and not the other. And for one, I hate that we've been, we're going into that place to be compliant, and
Here's a question.
it's by design.
What do you guys think about DUI stops?
It depends. If there's probable cause, I think they're warranted.
You mean like
You
random ones?
Do you mean
the-
like a roadblock?
Yeah. That's a tough one, right? Is there any probable cause there?
It depends on what the roadblock's
Because it's
for.
a Saturday night? Because that's usually what it is.
You shouldn't be driving drunk, period, the end.
I
but
agree. But
I guess
We're not
how big
talking-
a pain
we're
in,
talking
in my
about the
butt is
other
it?
side.
Are they searching my car, or are they just looking in my eyes with a flashlight?
stopping you at all. That's all I'm saying.
I think it's dangerous for law enforcement. I don't like that aspect of it because you never know what you're going to get, you know.
Now, granted, our county has backed off doing them for like the last 12 years, but a friend of mine brought up this radical idea to me, I don't know, 20 years ago. And I went, what? And then I thought about it and I went, he's right.
What's the idea?
Yeah.
The
spit it.
DUI stops are a breach of the Fourth Amendment.
Yeah, but who follows the Constitution these days?
Right.
And Dave comes through with, man, we got to get Dave in office. He fits right in.
Right. Just throw me
Any
some
office.
Throw
it
me
doesn't
some
matter.
sugar.
That's right.
I'll vote
I'm
for your
really
policy.
impressed with the
Throw
work
in
you've
some
done
high fructose corn
over the
syrup.
past 2 years as delegate. I think, didn't you learn a ton as a delegate here, and at least the process, but you got front and center with all the electeds that know you by name now because you're not really forgettable. But I mean, I think someone, at least if they were ever to run, should go through a process and get to know just how it works, and you get to hear what your fellow delegates are asking and what's really on the pulse of what's happening in your area. You also get to learn how many are really not informed.
Yeah, I don't look at it more as a learning experience as much as I do an interrogation.
Yeah.
So I'm a safety guy, and it's my job to make sure that people are wearing their safety gear And, they'll feel guilty if they tell me they are, but they're really not. And I look them in the eyes and I can figure it out. I know if people are wearing their safety shoes. I know if they're wearing their safety glasses, putting their hearing protection in. And it's the same with politicians. I know, I can tell, I can smell it if they really care about freedom or if they just want to enrich themselves or some sort of alternative motive.
Give me your MSDS.
That's a hard one because good politicians can.
Or now it's SDS. I apologize.
Sorry.
I think it's a double-edged sword with politicians because most of them go into it, I think, in the beginning thinking they're really going to do something. But they get there and realize they're getting their knees knocked out from underneath them and their hands tied behind their back, and they're accountable to all these people they made promises to, but they're not going to be put on committees if they don't toe the line. Mm-hmm. They're not going to
raise money for the party.
Yep, they got to raise money for the party so they can be reelected, and they're constantly worried about the next election. They get 30 seconds maybe if they're in a committee on television or a news snippet, and if they're just trying to legislate in a way that is constitutional, it's not popular, it's not sexy.
There's those too, Holly. I mean, there are diehard people out there that are like freedom or death, and there is nothing in between. Those are the guys that turn me on.
Well,
but
yes.
they don't get much done though.
Well, here's the deal.
Unfortunately, I wish they did.
I listened to a freshman Democrat congressman give a talk just today. He was asked what is it like. He says, first of all, we show up and they separate us by party, all us freshmen, and put us on buses so we're not around each other. He says, then we get there, and he says, I'm not on any committees. I'm a freshman, or I'm on committees that don't matter. So I might be occupied, 2 hours a week with actual legislative stuff. And he says every other hour is spent fundraising.
I can see that.
Every other hour. And I was like, whoa, that's heavy. That's heavy. So he's doing that for the party.
And for the Senate, it's not as extreme as
Because
far as
there's less of
fundraising.
them.
And it's longer term.
Yeah, 6-year terms.
But the House, they are constantly trying to fundraise and they're trying to be reelected.
Yeah.
They get 1 year to work and the next year is spent campaigning for their upcoming election. And I mean, I think that there's a lot that needs to be done, and their hands get tied just by the bureaucrats who are waiting behind them and telling them, no, this is how it's done. And that's how it's done. And yet it doesn't have to be done this way. And it doesn't feel constitutional. Let's fix it. But their own party's got their thumb on them.
Yeah, there's always party politics.
I'm here to
interfere.
say, why is Mitch McConnell still the minority leader in the Senate?
Because he throws elbows, man.
But this is, we're going to call out Joe Biden. Why is he still in office when, he's suffering from a lot of different things, and you can tell that there's issues there, and yet we better be prepared.
Is worse.
But we got to be prepared to call out our own people. And it's Mitch McConnell who actually allows bills to get to the floor. You could have every constitutional bill. You could have every plan that's fully constitutional. And he's not going to call it to the floor. You don't get to do it.
Yeah.
Even if your intentions are so spot on for the American people.
Yeah, he would hold them up in a heartbeat.
And
well, he's been proven to hold them up.
He has held them up. And I think as a party,
a lot of them.
We need to fix our own house.
We also need to remember that we are sending people there, asking them to vote, that they give up their wealth, power, their strength, their nobility. So it's going to take special people that we send there. That's why I'm extremely black-pilled. Because Utah could send the very best. We could send the Thomas Jefferson and the James Madison.
Right, because that's when the founders actually did it.
They would be knee deep in people who they would have to figure out how to either get on their side or get around.
Right, there's got to be some compromise if you're going to get any effective change done.
I hope that Nero's bow is tight.
Okay, what does that mean?
The bow that he plays the fiddle with.
Okay.
Nero?
Most women don't think about Rome.
She doesn't think about Rome. This is for us men.
How often do you think about Rome every week, Jared?
God, week? You want to go by week? Jesus, I got to kick my shoes off to count
Hi, Mom.
that.
Yeah, men think about
Hi,
Rome
Heather.
at least once a week.
Is
I
your
heard.
mother on there? Or
Yeah,
no?
my mom is on.
Oh, I better clean it up. We better change not the name. No. Anyways,
No, tell us about Nero's bow.
Nero, he played the fiddle as Rome burned.
Oh, like the Titanic guys.
Nero, the emperor of Rome.
I understand.
But they,
I'm just
they
saying.
enjoyed it. The Titanic guys were getting cold as the water
They
filled their
did that
socks.
to keep the people calm.
Right. Well, I mean, I always go back to the Star Wars references. So this is how democracy dies at the sound of
Democracy
applause.
dies with an applause.
The sound of thunderous applause.
Or if you're in Germany in 1933.
Hello, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for being on tonight.
Yes.
Tuning in.
So, I'll do
Am I
mine.
not seeing stuff?
They're coming across her feed. She shares better than you do.
No,
Apparently.
I just put it on my own page.
Oh, I do too. But
And that way,
So talking about democracy dying and people getting their just desserts.
all right, everyone remember John Sullivan, Jaden X. He was a guest on this show once. Right after, gosh, this would have been like February.
they
1st.
called him Utah's own. He was
Yep.
from Utah, right? Or was he from somewhere else and just lived
He's
in
from
Utah for a
No,
spell?
he's
Born
from
and bred,
Utah.
I think.
Born and raised. So, Washington, a Utah man was convicted today by a jury of the District of Columbia of 5 felonies and 2 misdemeanor charges related to his conduct during the January 6, 2021 breach at the U.S. Capitol, the day that will live in infamy. His actions and the actions of others, they got to throw that in, disrupted a joint session of the U.S. Congress convened to ascertain the count of the electoral votes related to the 2020 presidential election. So, anyways, John Sullivan, 29, Salt Lake City, Utah.
Wasn't he there when Ashley Babbitt was
Yes,
shot?
he's the one who videoed
he
it.
videotaped
He
it.
urged her on to
Right.
climb in that position.
He also broke out a window. He was armed with a knife.
And he also has ties to Antifa.
Yes, and BLM, and
And he's not
He
a
was-
Trump supporter.
he was also he is
At
not.
all.
He's
Not
also
all.
that guy that egged on the incident down in Provo.
Yep. So tell me how much time did he get?
So, well, he hasn't been sentenced yet,
He's been
but
found
he's
guilty.
been convicted of all 5. So let's read through those.
That's all 5. Most people had like what,
Or
17
all
or
7. Hold on, let me
18
read through these.
charges.
He was convicted of obstructing an official proceeding, a felony, obstructing officers during a civil disorder, felony, entering or remaining in a restricted building or grounds with dangerous weapon, felony, disorderly or disruptive conduct in a restricted building or grounds with dangerous weapon, felony, an unlawful possession of a dangerous weapon on Capitol grounds or buildings. That one I don't think should be a felony. That should be a misdemeanor. Idiot tax paid out the back door because
Well,
I
we already
carry a
have that
pocket
charge
knife every
above
day
him.
with me.
Like, why did the one above it, entering or remaining in a restricted building
Yeah.
or grounds with a dangerous weapon? Then you're going to add unlawful possession of a dangerous weapon on Capitol grounds.
Well, welcome to our judicial system. They stack it up. He was
Sounds like
also
they're
found
making up
guilty of
some
misdemeanor
stuff.
offenses of disorderly conduct in a Capitol building and parading, demonstrating, or picketing in a Capitol building. So he'll be sentenced at a later date by District Judge Royce C. Lamberth. Be interesting later on. I should look up whether Lamberth is a Republican nominee or a Democrat nominee to the bench. That makes a difference. But so, anyways, when they did the trial, they called him a anti-institutional activist instead of a BLM or an Antifa activist. They called him anti-institutional, and I think that's how they got the conviction. Because I think there in DC, with a jury there, had they called him BLM or Antifa, they'd have said, "Oh, he's one of our guys.
I'm
Let him go."
surprised they even charged him.
Which our judicial system is broken. I think they kind of had to, because he went all
He
over
released
the news.
he released the video. I saw his video live, and I went, oh,
there's video of him saying, this is during one of the videos. The Jan 6 videos are slowly bleeding out. This one will be bled out. They have to do this. Otherwise, and we'll get into some philosophical talk.
They tore
here in a
his
minute.
video down, though, off the internet, the one where Ashley gets shot, right?
They did, but he sold it to CNN.
Right.
He didn't put it up. CNN, I think, pulled it back down.
Yeah, because I know it got
Because-
wiped because you couldn't find it.
You can find it now, but you have to look into the seedier sides of the internet. But we don't need to go into that today. Okay, he says, there are so many people. Let's go. This S word is ours. F yeah. We accomplished this S word. We did this S word together. F yeah. We are all a part of this effing history. Let's burn this S word down.
Let's get a picture of him. Do you have
So-
one?
There's, yeah.
Rather
I'll
than
think
like
one up here in
reading
just a
this
second.
story verbatim.
Okay, let me pull a picture up real quick, and then I'll get back to the reading. Because Holly is making
Well,
it
people
tough.
can read it themselves
Yeah.
too, but
I'm
we
reading
could.
that, and I'm reading that right off the judicial site.
You know, I have to say this, but a lot of people are going to disagree with me, I'm sure. But when Trump gets elected and pardons everyone from January 6th, I hope he's included, I don't want to see him go to jail for this. I don't want to see any of the January 6th people in jail for this.
Well,
But
I
the
think
guy
they've
who
been
shot
in jail for this enough.
the guy who shot Ashley Babbitt,
Babbitt.
I would love to see that guy put in a cement rape cell.
He already got cleared, justified shoot. And what I worry about is DC has different laws there. They have a different judicial altogether, obviously.
well, that's what I also wanted to go into that a little bit on the philosophical talk about how I think our judicial system is breaking down, and more of my good black bill talk to make you guys sleep better tonight.
And for anyone that doesn't know what he's referring to when he says the black pill, tell people what you mean by that.
Well, you got the white pill, which is a sign of hope. You've got the blue pill, which is a sign of mental instability.
I thought it was ED.
That too. You've got the red pill, which is the sign, a conservative sign, and then you've got the.
Well, the red pill is awake. They're awake now. They know
Yeah.
what's happening.
The guy who invented this pill system, he invented the blue and red. His name is Mencius Moldbug, or
I thought it was the Matrix.
Curtis Yarvin. Well, he's the first one that aligned these to the political spectrum. Curtis Yarbug, he's an interesting person.
Okay, and then
But anyways, and then you got the black pill, which means you don't see a way out of it. You don't see an avenue of success.
other than full revolutions,
That's not success, though.
you just see it burning to the ground,
Yeah, you did, because I see.
which essentially would be success for someone with a black pill.
Revolution is blood pill. No, it's not success.
What is success to someone with a black pill?
They don't see an
There is
avenue for success.
Okay, so
Not in our lifetime.
they're
I
just
suppose.
they're just the Grim Reaper walking around alive.
I'm sitting in Rome in 300 AD, and I'm going, oh,
You're playing the fiddle.
no, I'm not playing the fiddle. I'm watching him play it.
Oh, I see.
And it's getting hot.
So this is our Utah
Yep.
kid, and honestly, if he's been in jail this entire time,
He hasn't.
he hasn't. He's been out.
Yes.
So
He was out when he came on our show.
all of these charges are far worse than the ones that people have gotten 17 years for.
Yes. Now, here's my thoughts on it. So,
Unbelievable.
in DC, a conservative person is not going to get a fair trial by a jury of their peers, because he's going to be judged by Democrats according to their theory of what they want to see.
And you can't ask for just a judge trial because the judges usually are
Even then,
activists from the bench in DC.
probably, but I would think for something like this, they would demand a jury trial, especially where it's federal and all that. But you've also got, but the question is, could let's say he went before a jury trial for that stuff that happened in Provo where they shot, what's his name?
Over the threats? Oh, him?
He didn't shoot him, but he was there and he was kind of whispering over the ear of the guy who did.
He's kind of everywhere where chaos happens.
He's involved in all that. I mean, reports are that he even went to Palestine and did some training there. I've heard that from someone else, somewhere else, and real or not, I've just heard that.
But you didn't ask him. You didn't know that yet?
No, I didn't know. I just heard this last month.
I think he should go to jail.
But the question is could them get a fair trial here in Tooele?
Who?
The people who did the BLM riots, him and the guy who actually shot, what was that guy's name he shot? Gosh, I forget his name. We met him, we talked to him. That BLM riot in Tooele where they shot the guy that was driving his truck home from Home Depot.
Oh.
Could they get a fair trial here according to our policies? Because
I would hope so.
Tooele found that reprehensible.
Right, but I think a jury and anybody that really is ready to commit on a jury, if I saw this, I think it's about the crimes and weighing those crimes.
Okay, here's the question. He didn't pull that trigger. He didn't shoot the gun. We don't know what his ties are to the gun.
Well, if he's instigated it, then
but we don't
that
know
is a crime.
We don't know that. We're just going on the
Well, I'd hope there'd be
January
evidence.
6th level of could he get a fair trial and bigger yet a fair sentence here, which means has our nation bifurcated that much where our judicial system depends on your politics and where you're at, whether you're going to get an equalized trial.
I don't know. I think if I was sitting on a jury and he was up there, I would hope the prosecution would have enough evidence of his ties to other riots he happened to attend. The fact that he's a January 6th right next to Ashley Babbitt, that would have some stake. The fact that he's in Tooele County, again, to me, his history matters. And the charges matter. Mm-hmm. I don't think parading in a Capitol with a flag and being escorted around by police by any means, those people would get a more fair trial here.
Let's say the circumstance I'm setting up is Provo, and let's say he's on trial with that kid who shot that guy, but he's kind of on trial.
As a conspirator?
Yes.
Okay, if you've got evidence that he's with that guy, then when you are committing a felony and you've got a partner, that person is just as guilty of that felony if someone dies.
Well,
or if anyone gets hurt. Anything.
Well, then that means everyone that was at that protest is guilty of that.
Not if their intent isn't there. If this guy's intent is to start trouble.
I'm saying the only evidence we have on this is that the guy who shot him was the only one with intent. We don't have evidence that he did. We don't have evidence that anyone else at that protest did. But how would his trial go here?
I hope he would get a fair trial. But I also would hope
too.
that the prosecution would get a ton of evidence before bringing charges. Before they risk putting a man in prison.
But I'm wondering, are they doing that in the Jan 6?
We know they're not doing that January 6.
That's the question. So they're getting tried.
There is a different
because they're not counting on an honest and forthright prosecutor or judicial system. They're getting convicted through a jury.
And Trump will get the same treatment in New York for that same.
But you're missing the point. Is the jury convicting just because of politics?
Absolutely. That's why I'm saying New York. You've got a pool of jurists in New York, politically one-sided, who are prepared to convict.
During his trial, they never mentioned BLM. They never mentioned Antifa.
Why didn't the prosecution mention that? It was because they thought that the jury would sympathize.
Is sympathetic to BLM and Antifa.
Right. So
instead they call him an anti-institutional activist.
Sounds pretty catchy.
That sounds like domestic terrorists.
Well, if you're the institution, yeah.
You want to get the conviction through a Democrat jury. You've got to do that.
Well, I just
I mean, that's the shady part, is that they use those words, and the media has repeated those words.
right, and they don't do the same
Which
for
I think
anyone else.
They kind of screwed John with that in a way that they had to twist what he was so that they could get him convicted. And a lot of people think that he is an FBI plant, that he's an informant.
Would you be surprised?
Not at all. I wouldn't be surprised if he wasn't. If he
He's
was
everywhere
if
all
he was
the
a
time.
Democrat Party plant, I wouldn't be surprised.
What
a
does he
bit.
do for a living?
How
does he afford to travel so much?
He was a professional speed skater, an Olympic speed skater, but
Doesn't pay well.
Apparently, aged out of that. He's a professional activist.
Right, so he's getting
He calls
paid
himself a journalist,
by
but
someone to travel and do all of that. And no, sorry, this kid.
I mean,
This
BLM
kid's everywhere all the time,
But
and his
this
hands
isn't-
are dirty.
I'm not bringing this argument up to say whether he's innocent or guilty. We know he's guilty. We talked to him. He told us about what he did. We know he's guilty. What I'm bringing it up is to point out that is our judicial system that broken?
It is that broken.
And it has been.
It has been, absolutely. I think it's just the lights come out again. There's people that have taken the red pill and they're seeing it for what it is. The judiciary is selective.
The problem is, those people that's taken the red pill were committed to these very same actions 60 years ago, being used in the opposite direction, and thought that was good.
Well, our justice system is still probably one of the best in the world. But
Sure.
it has got some problems, and the problem is you can't be perfect because
Sure,
it's made
we-
up of perfectly imperfect human beings.
There is less corn in our turd.
Okay, but I'm saying there's not a perfect system. There's just not.
There's not. I mean,
So you're dependent on the same people
But
that
it's-
vote. You're dependent on them following the rules of sticking to the law, sticking to intent, sticking to the law, and they are persuaded by their politics or their race or their belief in God. They're persuaded by whatever. Or it could just be there is a fantastically charismatic defense attorney that they really like, that they choose to support, or a prosecutor. People are fickle. And that's why the system, it could never be perfect.
well, the best way to make it perfect or more perfecter is to not have these overlaying laws that entangle everyone universally all the time. Is you have a simple legal structure. Okay,
The
Sherry.
mayor wants to know, what about the corn?
Sherry, hello, Sherry. That is your mother, I suppose.
Yes, my beautiful, beautiful mom.
Yes, hello, and thank you for making your daughter. She's a pleasant addition to my circle of homeboys and homegirls.
And just to answer Neil's question, the corn makes the syrup.
What about the corn? I says our poo has less corn in it. That's all I said.
Yeah, you're.
Easier to polish.
So, what do you want to get to the bottom of with him? Are we done talking about him?
A bigger philosophical question on the black pill point. Look, my representative is fantastic in the state. Grantsville's representative is fantastic in the state.
I agree.
They are, honestly, we are the luckiest people on earth.
I feel like we are.
We are. With Bridger and Tim, we couldn't get any luckier. Both of them are forthright. They're honest. They're intelligent. They get on top of it. They both really bring a good voice to our area.
So I actually think that we also have great local leaders. Our county
Yes,
council
our
has
county council's great.
done phenomenal when
Our
they
city-
should have been going through these growing pains, and
Our city councils are great. The good mayor of Grantsville is great.
he's amazing.
The mayor of Tooele is great. We are lucky out here.
We really are. Stansbury Service
Park.
Agency could use some work.
Stansbury Park needs to go through some stuff, but they've gone through some stuff, which is why I think Stansbury's where they are, and I don't want to cast aspersions on your leaders there just yet. I think that.
Oh, you need more time?
I think what they need to do is I think what they're trying to do with raising the taxes is a knee-jerk reaction. I think they need more planning, and they need to have a structure that allows for someone to manage that.
They've
better.
had this knee-jerk reaction for 2 years.
But
listen,
that's not uncommon.
That's not a partisan group of people, and it is the people who are taking taxes out of mine and my husband's paycheck.
Out of your baby's mouths.
And they're making decisions that are crazy. And sadly, for me, I mean, they don't have, I just don't think they've done the best with what the resources they have.
No, they don't. And but we could dig into that. We should do a show digging into that.
And we're actually going to go live into our next meeting, I think.
Okay.
One of us will, and we'll interview the people, because this is the one thing I have to say about the Stansbury Service Agency. Their meetings have been packed with people who are all vocal
And
against
angry.
what they're doing,
Yes.
and they continue to do it.
Yes.
And so to me, that's like a slap in people's face.
Yeah,
It's like
We'll
the
dig
federal
into-
government.
It is. But
We'll
this
dig
is the
into that
most
more.
local level you could possibly get. And you've got people who don't know what their job is, maybe. They're not experienced. And I can appreciate that. Most local electeds that go in their first time, they learn on the job. And it's not easy. But I think that when you know that you don't know something, you ask. And there's so many resources out there, but they don't ask until they're in trouble. And then it's like, well, it's your guys' fault because you didn't want the tax raise. We had to lay off all these people. We can't afford them. It's your fault that you didn't notice that $1 million was being embezzled under your nose for 2
was
years.
stolen from the city.
Yes.
But I want to circle back around to the philosophical idea.
Well, yeah, but I think Neil wants to know what's going to happen on Tuesday.
Tuesday sounds like
Okay, well,
garbage day for
we'll
me.
skip my idea. Tell us about Tuesday.
Tuesday's voting day.
Tuesday's voting day.
And there are
And it's
places.
also recyclables for 1010 West.
Thank you, David.
Oh, is it Tuesday or Thursday?
It's Tuesday.
Oh, perfect. So if you got big stuff on this side of town, that's talking about the Settlement Elementary side of town, put it out by the street.
And don't
you have to let them know ahead of time?
No, that's recyclables, I said, not the
Oh.
bulk trash.
Oh, recyclable.
Okay, so you have to already, of course, be registered to vote, and you should have gotten your ballot. And then ballots must be mailed and post-dated on Tuesday.
Perfect.
There's a lot of drop places, like drop boxes. So if you're in Stansbury, they've moved it to the fire station. And, I mean, you can drop your ballot anywhere. Drop your own and drop, make
Twilla
sure
City
you sign
Building,
it.
Grantsville, I'm sure it's down to the Grantsville City Building.
Right. So,
Remember, follow the instructions. You get it. Don't tear the little tab off where you sign, but sign before you lick the envelope and close it. Which, come on, it's 21st century. Why are you still licking nasty ass envelopes?
it's just weird. What's the sticker, right?
I know. Don't they have the? I mean,
We're not supposed to lick them?
Well, you're
Well,
only
no,
licking.
We have to lick ours.
Hopefully, you're
because-
only licking one, though, Jared.
I lick
And you don't have like 200 you got to go through,
Hey,
like in Arizona
I'm
or
a good
Wisconsin.
Democrat. I'm a good Democrat.
But
But
I'm
I
very
only
excited.
voted for 30 dead this year, so
I'm excited. Twilla City has their race, and Grantsville has their race. In Stansbury, we had 2 agency members come up. But then we've got the congressional race, and of course, I am supporting Celeste, and I know you guys are excited about the candidate you're supporting. I'm hopeful because I know that Celeste, you can go to the fire station and vote in person.
Yep, you can vote in person in Grantsville at the fire station. Everyone's got a personal invite from the good mayor
And the
of
mayor, Mayor Critchlow, I absolutely adore you.
He's
and
outstanding.
I love the time and attention you spent with this candidate, with Celeste, and I know that that she speaks very, very highly of you. And she also really likes our Jared Hamner, the county council chair, and has been very open to be here and be present and to be helping our small towns and making sure we have what we need from our representatives. So that's my main reason for voting for Celeste, was how already in tune she was with the needs of Grantsville, of Tooele County in general, and then all the work she's been doing already.
I wish she'd have made her campaign slogan, "Send this dirt doctor to DC." That would have been fantastic.
Well,
Because
and
she's a dirt doctor,
she
you
is. She is. And
know? A soil scientist.
it's so nice to send people to DC when they do have a history. It's just like with Tim Jimenez being an environmental engineer. I mean, stuff he knows.
I'm glad
It'd be
they-
like sending you, a safety audit person. What is it called?
Oh, stop it.
What is your job title?
Fascist
Safety.
extraordinaire.
Safety fascism in
Yeah.
the 21st century.
So
I
basically,
am the one who puts the boot on the throat.
if there are some bills or something that come out where your expertise are really, really needed, it's nice to know that
God, the speed limits would be 12.
you keep interrupting me, rude.
Get used to it.
You interrupted me the whole time I was philosophizing.
Well, you were just reading.
Holly, at least you get to talk.
Word
I'm surprised
for
you've actually
word.
gotten that many words into the show.
I did see your last show. David was a mouse, quiet.
I know, he
It's like,
gets scared.
my mouth was open, but nothing could come out.
Of course, I've seen that too. You don't talk much. I've seen you with your wife too. You're just
What
silent.
I do, it's impact all the way.
Oh, it's quality for sure.
Yes, yes, dear.
What would you like to say?
What would I like to say? I already told everyone Tuesday is recyclables.
But it's voting day.
That's the blue can.
I already voted. I mailed my ballot in a long time ago.
I love that. In fact, if we could get people to vote early, it's really great. Again, though, I do
Is it?
like when candidates come in and can maybe change your mind, or
Yeah,
you can get well informed, and sometimes that takes some time.
I'm not thrilled about it. I'm not thrilled about my actions
Then why did you do it?
because so if someone puts taxpayer money on the table and says, this is for a new car if you take it right now, even though I know taxation is theft, I'm going to put my hand on the money and take it. I'd be crazy not to. Or how about this? Try convincing a lottery winner not to cash in their ticket because you're robbing funds from society.
Oh, no. You don't cash your ticket until you have your lawyer in place, you've got a new name, a new identity. Then you go cash in your ticket.
What I wish I could do is make everyone vote on one day in person.
And make it a holiday
Yeah.
so they don't
And
miss
make it a
work.
holiday, yup. And, maybe a few other limitations. But unfortunately, I really think our voting system it's in need of a little revamping. And that also goes for our party politics as well. I think our delegate system also needs a little revamping. So, yeah, I mean, it is what it is. But Tuesday is voting day.
How do we
Don't
get
forget.
out? How do we get out from under the vote by mail that so many people have become very attached to? Because I like to vote in person. That's what I prefer. But vote by mail is now everywhere, and yet, I mean, do you like it? Do you think it's the best way, or do you think we need to revamp it totally?
I think voting is for me. It's kind of like some people go to church on Sunday, and my religious holiday is the day we elect our lords and masters. So I wish people would take it with a little bit more reverence, and the system that is implemented for the execution of voting was a slightly more ritualistic system of importance. But
Right.
I feel like we've watered it down, and a lot of people that have died to give us this wonderful republic are kind of being slandered in a way by
Oh,
our
no.
current voting system.
They're voting in blue states. They're voting. But I love the sentiment because when I was a kid, it was a big deal. My parents took me when they went to vote, and it was a big deal. And it's an obligation, and it's important. And I miss that. I miss I don't want to say the lines to vote, but I liked that I could go in and see my neighbors, and you don't really necessarily talk politics. People were, back then, you kept it to yourself. You didn't really.
Politics wasn't pushed to center stage of every part of your life back then.
Right. And so, you chat with your neighbors, you show your ID, you go and do your ballot and you hand it in. And I love and I absolutely miss knowing results on election night. I don't understand how we're in 2023, almost 24, and we've gone backwards with you used to hear results at the end of the night on paper.
Well, I think that's because, the voting machines have to be adjusted for the outcome we want. I mean,
and with
it's
mail-in
a whole
ballots,
thing.
you can mail your ballot in as long as it's before a certain time. But like on voting day, well, it won't come in for what, 2 days?
That's true. So you're leaving a little bit more flexibility for the system to
And the
adjust
results.
as need be.
I don't get results, and as a party chair, I need these results. Our candidates need these results, and
Didn't Arizona, this last one, take something like a whole week to get their results done?
some
It was insane.
some took 2 weeks. And what's weird is voting night with 2020, Trump you go to bed and he's got this huge lead, and then you wake up the next morning, and it's like, wait, what happened? And so I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying when people are really, really, I think they have they love the convenience of mail-ins, but they are lacking that reverence that you mentioned of the importance of their vote. And so we've got a phenomenal county clerk and her system as well. She's got a great staff that's working with her, and it's all business and serious. And her whole thing is about the integrity of how ballots are counted and collected and protected. And so we're so lucky in our county
Oh, yeah.
that I don't worry about the outcomes, but I would love to know them. I'm sure she'd love to know them and get them all done. But it's these different stages and layers that come in. You can put it in a Dropbox, I think, before 8 p.m. and they're all gathered up on voting day. So these guys could have an all-nighter counting ballots, and then more come in a few days later. It just feels like there's a better way, and we're just not seeing it. Or I don't know. Maybe it's because the population's grown. And there's more ballots to count, but
Yeah. Well, Neil says, even big cities do it back then. Neil said, and maybe they're not getting as many volunteers. I don't know. But I still think it's because the machines have to be calibrated. Neil says, Bridgeport explains a lot about the 2020 election. I do not know what he's talking about there. Bridgeport. Neil, we've only got like 2 minutes left, so quickly pop on, tell me what it means. Patricia says, we have voting machines in Brazil as well, and we know the results in 2 or 4 hours after voting in one day. I will point out that me and Dave on this very show looked at Brazil's election results 2 weeks before election day, and they had it then. So,
and they have mail-in voting there too.
I don't think the machines. I don't think the machines mattered in that one. I think that one. I don't care what anyone says. What's his name?
Lula.
Yeah, that was.
He was chosen.
I don't think
not
anybody
elected.
honestly voted there. I think that one was shady.
Now, one of the news agencies actually reported election results before the election.
They did. It was like 2 weeks before it.
remember that.
And we watched it. We looked at it on the show. And I looked at the election results after, dead on. So either they've got the best polling system on earth, like God tier polling, or stuffing the ballot boxes for the mayor. Have you guys heard about that mayor in Illinois, that chick mayor?
She got
Is
stuffed.
it Bridgeport, Illinois?
No, I think he's talking Bridgeport somewhere. Hold on.
You use Bing?
Sure.
What?
Well, Bing pops up first just because
He
it's
set it as
Microsoft.
his. Yeah, I have Microsoft, but I set my browser to something else.
Yeah, they set it for Jared.
Yeah, remember, I'm a IQ 20.
I'm just excited you're
Tell us-
sitting upright. You're doing a good job.
I'm sitting out. I know. I tied my own shoes today. Look at me. I like stuffing the ballot boxes for mayor. I'm gonna have to look that up. Okay, Bridgeport, Connecticut. Okay, did they actually get convicted? We're gonna have to dig into this. Neil, bring it back next time. Anyways, there's this mayor in this like small suburb in Illinois. She's like a 32-year-old chick, like a the semi-attractive chick, and she is dumping their money down the drain and locking them out of the chambers. Like when they go to have a city council meeting, she locked them out of the building and had all the locks changed. And so I've been following this story. She is gone hog wild insane. She went to Vegas on the city dime and spent like $1 million.
Why is she
Spent
not
her wa- she
in
didn't win
jail?
that.
Because she has bought the police force. Not just the chief, but all the cops. Because she puts them on.
Still, there's a county sheriff.
Her personal detail. She puts them on her personal detail.
Right, but there's a county sheriff.
And one guy in one pay period worked 13 hours a day. Now, he was honestly the best looking of the officers. She's a young single lady. I'm not saying that you have to be clothed to protect her, but I imagine. But anyways, 13 hours. He got 1 2-week paycheck that was something like, what was it, $3,300 or something. It was insane. I'm just like, whoa. Okay, Patricia says
Chicago, man.
one day vote, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. We have to vote as specifico in one place by zip code and two different. Yeah, I'm sure that when you did the vote, like you put it in, it printed out the paper note right into the round bin because they had decided on Lula.
So you're saying Brazil doesn't have integrity in their elections?
There's questions.
Who has
But
integrity?
if you
in their
do ask
elections?
questions, you end up like the last president, Bolsonaro, and you become like an excommunicado.
Well, remember,
and
they had kind of a.
you can't enter the political arena for 10 years.
Yeah.
So what they're trying to do to Trump now?
Oh, yeah.
And the stuff they did in
They're
Venezuela.
much more effective in Brazil.
That's because Brazil doesn't have a Second Amendment.
Yeah, probably.
Quite simple. Second Amendment, everyone. Buy guns, buy precious metals. That's lead, brass, copper jackets.
I don't know. Gold is fun.
No, sure, but precious metals are much more usable
precious.
at point of purchase.
Well, anyway.
Anyways, that's the show. You guys,
Are you going to
what?
mention anything else
What am I supposed to mention?
about me being on the show?
Oh, yes, we need to go through this.
Oh,
I
ceremony.
apologize. Okay,
It was like the whole reason for me being here
It's
tonight.
like the change of command.
it's not the whole reason. I was just going to put you in a red hat and just have you start showing up every time.
Oh,
Okay.
that would be so funny.
So Dave has to, thank you, Neil. Neil says, great job. He was probably talking
I'm
to
going
Holly
to come
Dave.
and see you, Neil. I have something for you.
But Dave is having to take a step back from the show. Dave has an STD, guys. Everyone pray with us. But anyways, Dave has to take a step back from the show. Holly is going to step in as New Dave. Holly's name now is New Dave.
Holly's name is Holly. No one
What's
can
that, new
replace Dave.
But anyways,
He's
Holly's
deplorable.
going to step over. Dave is not disappearing from the show, but we may not see him over the next month as often. But after that, I expect to see him more than ever.
I'll be back.
Yep, he'll be back. Get in the chopper and all that stuff.
So, Holly, you're going to take my spot. You're
Yep.
going to run with it, and you're going to just do a phenomenal
She's
job.
going to kill it. She'll probably yell at me.
I'm sure Jared and I will have many a fight that will get scratching.
Ooh, do you read that, Dave? Neil says the hat is a must. So
I have to wear the hat. He's not going to take that hat off.
he doesn't have a head under the hat. takes the
get
hat
it.
off.
My
it's
brain
just-
will fall out.
I'll
it's
try to
just
find a
another hat.
T-shirt that
I
says
know.
it.
We need to get you like a golfing visor.
Oh no, I'll just get a T-shirt.
A T-shirt?
That
You're
says
always
it.
dressed to the nines. I've never seen you in a T-shirt.
Yeah, you did
you
when you
own
were gun
T-shirts?
training me.
You didn't wear. You wore a button-up shirt that day.
Oh my gosh, how you know that is so weird. And actually, I did, and a turtleneck underneath
Yes.
because
Because brass
The
tends
brass
to jump.
would
And yes,
fly.
you wore a button-up shirt because it was a concealed carry class, and you must keep your weapon concealed. But anyways, everyone, so you're going to see more of Holly, less of Dave for a couple weeks, maybe a month at the most, while we get all this new stuff aligned. We'll tell you the specific. Dave didn't catch a disease, but we'll tell you the specifics about what's going on.
and there's lots of excitement coming
and
on.
Dave's
So
time of comfort to tell you about it.
and please tune in. Please tune in as often as you
Oh.
can because we've got a lot of exciting stuff coming,
Yes.
and we want this to be with all of you because there's some of you that
There is
have always tuned in, and my mother hasn't seen me in a T-shirt either.
probably not since you were dressing her, I'm sure. It was like she probably hit like, I don't know, 4, and she's like, I dressed myself and I'm wearing fancy
My
stuff.
mother has gone through some long surgeries in the past with me. She has seen me in yoga pants. I was a stay-at-home mom. So Mom, you are just silly.
Whatever.
Well, I'm going home to wear my yoga pants right now.
There's
That's
nothing
right,
better.
so- But anyways, and then there's also other bigger news that we will announce probably the end of the month when all the stuff on that gets boiled out.
Please share with
But
your
yes,
friends. If you like the show, if you want to contribute to the show, share with your friends. We so badly want you all involved because it's been
Yeah, let's drive the numbers
really
up.
neat.
Smash
Find us on YouTube, on iTunes, on iHeart, on Rumble and BitChute. We're on all those. Find us on your preferred system and jump on there. We are going to start going multi-stream soon, so you'll see us on probably live on at least here and YouTube at the same time. So that'll be happening soon.
And they can like and subscribe and hit that notification button.
Well,
So
you're good at this already.
yeah.
She's already there. We need to start announcing it before we talk about it. Before we talk about the rest of the show, so we can get people hooked quick. So we can be like those shady teens handing stuff out to the kids on the swings at the school park.
The angsty
Out of a
teens.
white van.
I'm talking about
Free candy?
handing out the footballs and baseballs because we're sports fans.
I love
We like
sports.
sports ball. Anyways, thanks for joining us.
Thank
Fun
you.
to chat. And we will be back next week. Maybe Dave, maybe not. I don't know. Maybe I'll just kidnap him.
I'll be back.
You guys have a good night. Good
Thanks,
weekend.
everyone.